You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. My feet have come too far for you to tie 'em to the ground. You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. Set my sights on where I'm going at. They turn it back around. You can't stop me.
Good evening and welcome to the Psychic Coffee Shop. I'm Aeson Knight, and of course with me tonight is the techie with the mostest, Techie Joe. How are you, darling?
Doing well. It's been a while.
It
Like,
has.
I haven't gotten to
We
start
got
a
a full
psychic.
studio.
I know, I haven't gotten to start a psychic in a while.
I
Like,
know.
always come in after an
Yeah.
author if there's room, because you've had like double authors.
I've had
So,
like double authors. I've had like different things to occur. And I really, we were going to have Master Shaw on again tonight, but unfortunately he had to reschedule. We will be rebooking him for those that do not remember. He was with us last year and was wonderful. Hello, Miss Ashley. How are you?
Hi, Ashley. Yeah. Shaw was great. Like the
Love
tech.
talking
The
to him.
tech.
Well, not only the tech, but also some of the abilities and skill set of him is one of the harder fields for us to find. So I love having him on with his knowledge. I mean, he's one of those authors that I can sit down and just dive into a lot of secular, non-secular ideas.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he was a great guest.
Right.
Like he really, yeah. Like, I think that was one of the nights that I other authors should be glad they didn't have to go on after him.
Right.
That would have been a horrible night to be author 2.
Right.
And if there was an author 2 that night, I'm sorry, this is what we're talking about. Like, you didn't stand a chance.
Right. That's when it's like, oh, we're going to need a couple streams here, guys. So we're going to go to After Dark Psychic Coffee Shop.
I know, like, and yeah, he was so totally down for the conversation. He was like totally with it, like unflappable. Like, he was wonderful.
Right.
And I think that's for a little behind the scenes and a little sneak peek of what like our baristas get.
Right.
That was the one though that, like, I think we were down to like 2 minutes before showtime, not sure if we were going to be able to make this all work.
Right.
Because his tech support staff was having a moment.
Well, it's because they had to come into our setup. He already had his own support. He has his own studio, much more advanced than little me, but he is wonderful. So hopefully we will have him on sometime in June or July. We will be getting that out to our baristas as soon as we have a date. So we kind of have a Joe topic. Well, Joe created the topic because he keeps talking about this. So
what did I do?
Your doctor's appointment.
Oh yeah. Well, I've had a long-standing joke, or well, a long-standing commentary that you've brought up before. It is one of those things that, like, falls in the category of like things I've taught you, which is sometimes you just don't fight the universe. You just don't fight it. Right. Like, something's going on, just don't fight it. So I was supposed to have had a doctor's appointment yesterday. And on Friday,
right,
in a random series of events, we all ended up going out. Because usually that almost never happens. Typically there's almost always one of us here at the house. But we all went out, and we are all in the car as it decides to have a moment.
Right.
Several of them, in fact, in which we have dashboard lights going off like crazy. All seemingly related to either a sensor or a minor, very minor brake problem that has a vehicle overreaction. Effectively it's a speed sensor. We have a anytime 4-wheel drive, so it's very computerized, like more than I think you would prefer. So we had warning lights going off everywhere, and which is, very concerning. Because the lights that it chose were anti-lock brake system, brakes, electronic stability system, and transaxle.
Right.
Like it's telling me the whole car, just like if it's from the wheels out, or like, from the axles down, you're screwed, man. You're screwed. Like, we don't know how you're still driving, or something's going on.
Right.
Like, are you running away from a T-Rex, and like this is a recreation of Jurassic Park?
Right.
Like, that's where the car was, is like, am I going to be eaten by a T-Rex?
Right.
Like, that's what the car wanted to know.
Right.
So we'll just call it the T-Rex Light series.
Right.
So anyway, we have this happen, and we basically kind of have the, okay, well, as people do, we'll get into this later in the week. When we can, be comfortable that if we're taking the car in for a more expensive repair than we think, because damn those sensors, we'll be a little better off to do that. So, hey, no long drives until we do that.
Right.
Okay, so we classified my doctor's appointment on Monday as it's going to be a long drive.
Right.
So this weekend, lots of time and effort was put into, like, okay, what's going on? Is this something we can quickly, like hook up a diagnostic thing? So we called a friend with a diagnostic thing. Side note, there's no diagnostic code even when the lights are on. It is not coding. That just makes it more fun. Hey, Natalie. So we're kind of going through this, and it's like, well, I don't think it's unsafe to drive. So we're re-debating. Like, well, should we be so worried? Should we be so, etc. So we have to go Monday and do laundry. So we go together. And like the last thing I said before we left the house, because it was very bright and early, was, once we get the laundry loaded, don't let me forget to call and reschedule.
Right.
Okay, so we finally get to the laundromat, and we're standing there and loading clothes into machines, and my phone starts ringing. It is my doctor's office. Because I'm already re-debating, like, we're going to be done in plenty of time with the clothes to, like, take care of everything, and I could still technically make it to this doctor's appointment. And I'm already, like, standing there re-debating it. Like, well, should I call and cancel? Should I not call and cancel? Should I, try to go on to it? Like, it's not the end of the world if I don't. But I don't like I've only had one appointment with this doctor's office. I don't want to tick them off. You know what I mean? And I don't know where they're at with that. Like, some doctor's offices are like, whatever, just reschedule,
Right.
Other doctors are like, no, you will eternally be here for every appointment, or you will find somewhere else to go.
Right.
So anyway, I'm debating that, basically standing there loading laundry, and my phone rings. It is the doctor's office. The doctor was out.
Right.
And they were calling to reschedule my appointment.
Right.
And I just, I graciously handled the call, like, oh, okay, and reschedule and, repick a date. And so get off the phone, and I'm like, well, either I was supposed to die in Beckley today, or on my way to Beckley, or we're going to die here in the laundromat, and I don't want to hear any jokes about dirty underwear afterwards. No one's allowed to make a joke about my underwear situation afterwards. Because we were here.
Right.
Like, I had all the clean underwear, okay? Like, but,
Yeah.
It's like don't F with the universe. Like, we had a warning that should have kept me out of that appointment, and I started to try to disregard it, and then my doctor didn't get to work that day.
Right. Well, and that's also the day. This is an appointment that it's an early leave. Like, it's not like the we can get there in 10 minutes appointment.
Mhm.
We don't have those.
No. Well, this one's not horrifically bad, but yeah, it's an
Yeah.
early leave.
It's an early leave. So,
Yeah.
it was kind of interesting. I looked at him and I said, I'm done with this, especially since the lights haven't come on the car
Yeah.
for a couple days. It's a
Yeah.
sensor, it's a speed sensor. My speed is off by 5 miles.
We know this.
We know.
And before it went crazy, I did hit some really, like, and I couldn't help it. There was nowhere else I could go that was better. Some really high water
Right.
that, like, we had not this immediate past Friday, but the previous Friday, a horrific rainstorm.
hmm
And all you could do was just go through it.
Right.
Like, the roads were ponding,
hmm
and I did hit a spot a little faster than I probably should have.
hmm
And there's a potential, like, maybe I threw some debris on the speed sensor and ticked it off, or
Or it's
you know,
just a problem that needs fixed. It'll be go in Thursday. It'll be fine. The vehicle is perfectly fine. We
oh yeah,
drove it way before. I drove way before these dim lights. If this was
yeah.
my 74, I would have done pop the wheel off, changed the brakes, popped the wheel back on, and went on.
Well, maybe not even. Like, honestly, it's not really doing anything.
Right.
Like, if you take the lights out of the equation,
hmm
it's not doing anything that says, "Hi, I have a problem."
Right.
Other than
Right.
a lot of the, like, codependent support systems
Right.
that are, electronically computer controlled
Right.
are, like, sitting here throwing a glitch, and most of what the lights are
hmm
warning me that, hey, we know it's been a while since you've had to drive a real car.
hmm
Back when, like, we didn't have a computer that did these things for you,
hmm
or that wasn't attached to the computer. Like, you had to manage, like, not locking the brakes on your vehicle.
hmm
And that's what most of these lights are for, are to
Right.
tell me those systems
Aren't
are
responsive.
offline.
Yeah.
Like, we can't control it, we can't read it, we can't
Right.
do the things. Hey, Kimberly.
Hello. Thank you for joining us. I believe this early morning, if my brain works correctly.
Yeah, I would think early-ish morning.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see. What am I looking at? Like, I get the snakes and spiders, but
Koala bear.
I don't think that's meant to be a koala bear. Is that a wombat?
Yes, that is a koala.
Okay.
And it's some leaves and it'll eat them and look all cute and furry until it like grabs you.
Okay, 9:45 a.m. So slightly not early.
Yes.
But yeah, so 12 hours difference.
Yes.
Awesome.
All right. So we're going to cover some interesting news first. We're going to then cover some what the hell news.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about something very sad. Before we start covering the very sad, I will give a trigger warning. And then we'll do our normal Reddit sessions. I will be taking questions in throughout. I do need your birthday.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta stay out of my closet, Natalie. That's all I have to say about it.
Oh, is there, like, I mean, is there a camera in the bedroom? Did you finally sneak a camera into the bedroom?
Not yet, honey. Our bank account doesn't reflect that.
Well, I know, but I didn't know if maybe you went and created a whole other one.
Yep.
So yeah. Oh, looks like Kimberly's gonna have a question here soon.
Awesome.
So yeah, we look forward to taking that.
Yep. So it was reported on Monday that our Air Force was activated. yet a very interesting mission.
Yeah,
Operation Fly Formula.
probably one of the most clearly named operations.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Together We Deliver is U.S. Transportation Command's motto, and it played out in real time. The first airplane importing 132 pallets of specialty infant formula arrived
Mm-hmm.
Sunday at Indianapolis International Airport. The C-17 Globemaster III military transport aircraft was loaded with 78,000 pounds of cargo the day before at Ramstein Air Base, Germany, kicking off Operation Fly Formula. When the needs are in the Ukraine, India, or even right here at home, from deploying combat credible forces to providing vaccines, food, water, and supplies during a pandemic or natural disaster, U.S. Transcom will deliver, said Air Force General Jacqueline D. Van Ovis, commander of U.S. Transcom. Together with our industry partners and allies and partners, we not only protect, not project, and sustain the joint force to help ensure national security, but we continue to deliver hope whenever and wherever.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, typically this would take 2 weeks to get from the Europe to the US.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this
Yeah.
tremendously sped this up.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And with that, I'm kind of going. I'm double confused. And you have photo evidence of this.
Okay.
One of our trips was out to Walmart's this weekend, and of course, I'm a bargain bitch, so I checked the clearance section. Guess what I see in the clearance section?
Yeah, there were some like I believe specialty they were specialty, weren't they? Or like
Yeah,
like the
allergenic formulas.
yeah,
Yeah,
the we would call a specialty formula.
right,
Mostly because, we're not in the know. So, baby mama's in the group, if you can help us out, what is considered a specialty formula? Because I don't think anyone's quite clear. Like
right,
the article, I don't think goes on to explain that.
right. And
I don't
we're
remember.
seeing a lot of postings, and I'll reiterate a few of them
Mhm.
about how to make formula from the '60s using goat's milk. We've also seen statements about you can't do that. Well, our grandmothers did.
Well, and West Virginia, hard times call for interesting solutions. It's
Right.
not that we don't know people that haven't mixed sugar and water together, and
Yep.
it,
Yeah.
um,
Um, gotten through it. We're getting examples of like breastfeeding formula, low iron or soy free. I've heard stories of children that require specific types of formulas that they're like, no, we don't even have it. And this is because we've allowed corporate America to be three companies that control all formulas to feed babies.
mhm.
hmm Now, they did activate the Defense Act, which is prioritizing that all product ingredients go to our companies first, America first.
Mhm.
This is not making national news that it goes to America first because, of course, America first has been used as a campaign slogan for a terrorist.
Well, basically, and yeah, this is an emergency defense like
hmm
authorization situation.
Right.
In which one you can compel production, which I think might be what Ashley was talking about with Similac.
Yes.
And you can also divert resources intended to be exported
Right.
to keep those in country.
Right.
So
Well,
that
and
we,
it depends on which one. Ashley suggested changing the country. Um, on Amazon, you may be able to get it out of other countries. The problem with that is it may not make it past customs.
typically, yes. Like
Right.
that can be another part of the situation.
Right.
And like there's a lot of debate, and it isn't something I would want to necessarily take on as an independent consumer.
Mm-hmm.
of trying to order from other countries. I understand the need and the desperation
Right.
that parents are getting to, so I certainly understand. Oh, okay. So Similac factory in Michigan was closed. They sold formula that 4 babies died from.
Right.
I had missed that.
Excuse me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
You've
at
come to
least,
the wrong damn stream. Do not
but
come in
you,
my stream.
but
You'll get
name
crap.
themselves appropriately. They got bopped.
Yep.
Bop, Nancy. Bye bye. So yeah, but no, I wouldn't want to take that on as an independent consumer to try to evaluate the particular health and safety of another country's formula.
Right.
There have been instances in which, yes, some countries have much better control than even the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Some countries do not,
Right.
and the things that are considered acceptable have been marked as unsafe in the U.S.
Right.
So it's a very hard situation, especially as an independent consumer, and I'm sure that is a lot of why
Right. And what's
we're
even
seeing.
worse
Mhm,
is what we're seeing out of our Senate and our Congress,
mhm.
especially the 192 Republicans that voted against allowing WIC to buy more expensive brands.
Yeah.
Um, the other 9 that are idiots that voted against funding these children programs and also adding FDA regulations so that this plant can have a supervisor in it to reopen it.
Mhm.
Like, you are psychopaths if you vote against getting food to children.
But remember, when you vote, that they are pro-life because
Exactly.
they believe life begins at conception.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you're born, you're fucked.
Yeah.
But that whole in between point of conception to birth, they really care about you.
Right.
Not really, but they say they do.
Yes.
They're not going to help the mother of the unborn,
Mm-hmm.
because if we're going to use the terminology, we'll use the terminology. Because if you believe life begins at conception, then the pregnant woman is now a mother. They
Mm-hmm.
don't care about mothers. They
Right.
don't care about well baby checks. They don't care about any of the many things that go into being a pregnant woman.
Right.
They certainly don't care about time for mothers to bond with their born children,
Right.
or any financial stability whatsoever for
Right.
the born or the
Right.
unborn.
Or the unborn. I'll be right back. Gizmo's got to go.
Okay, so but no, trying to remember exactly where we were, and Kimberly, we will get to you in just a minute. So yeah, no, I would be very hopeful that when they reopen Similac, that this is done very, very carefully. And I would say in this instance, it most likely will be. Um, so yeah, and pulling up that article real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Sorry, I just finally saw the link come through. Um, so that's Detroit news. Detroit news, not Detroit. I can't type today.
Yeah.
Okay, baby formula plant. All right, we should get there. All right, and we have it. So yeah, Michigan baby formula plant owner reaches deal
Mm-hmm.
to restart production. The U.S. Department of Justice confirmed Monday that it reached a tentative agreement with baby formula manufacturer Abbott Laboratories to resolve safety issues at its plant in Sturgis, Michigan, where a
Right.
recall has helped to fuel a nationwide formula shortage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So, in a Monday evening statement, the federal agency said it had filed a legal complaint against Abbott over allegations of quality and safety violations, and that the company had already agreed to propose consent decree to resolve the issues. The decree is subject to court approval.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that should clear them to move forward. But several Abbott employees are accused of manufacturing the baby formula under conditions that did not meet regulatory standards for quality and safety, according to a federal court filing. The
Right.
consent agreement would require Abbott Laboratories to take a series of steps aimed at increasing safety at the factory and bring the company into compliance with federal regulations before it could resume operations.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. This is just baloney. Granted, I get that there have been shortages for things. However, the primary source of feeding children should have been prioritized.
Yes.
I can
Always.
tell when stock is running down. Any business owner can tell when they're running low on stock and should have increased production. Abbott, yes, I was a stockholder. Yes, I sold my stock in you. You're an asshole.
Well, Abbott is a very large company, though.
Yes.
And one that, like, their problems with baby formula are kind of shocking.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is also a company that makes many health and pharmaceuticals, health devices, health equipment.
Right.
Um, for them to have lax procedures with baby formula is very concerning. Like,
Right.
I would think in the hierarchy of like the universe, like, don't fuck with kids, kind of
Mm-hmm.
A1. You know, it is very concerning that they could have this
Right.
level of a problem. But yeah, one would definitely hope that they could drastically improve that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, no.
Yeah. So
Like,
I'm glad to see Biden on the move and taking a little bit from the and he, even though he's a Republican, I like him. The governor of Maryland that said, "Oh, you won't get me supplies for a pandemic."
mhm.
Hey, NFL, remember that tax break we gave you to build a stadium? Have your plane ready by midnight.
Yeah, really. I mean, no, I mean this is what
Right.
we do.
This is what should be going on.
Yes. So we do have Kimberly's question, as well as we have some. I don't know. Do you want to consider it a reading question or just a general question?
Oh, those are commentary questions
Okay.
on Mike. And don't forget, we got Ashley in the mix. I saw something come through on her.
Oh, yes. There we go. So, yeah, let me go ahead and start those so that we can keep up.
Yes.
Yep. And then, so I think, well, we'll call Ashley first, then Kimberly.
Well, no, let's do Kimberly first, and then we'll do Ashley.
All right. So, Kimberly, November 23rd of 88. Any tuition about what career path I should take, guys? Out of work due to mandates at the moment. Many thanks.
Okay, so this is going to be a wild general, and understand that I'm going to give you fields of areas I think that you should go into. I do, looking at this, find that this field is something different than you've done before, I believe. I also think that this is something that's going to be a little bit more flexible for your lifestyle to give you more financial security. Looking at this, I will say that you're going to be back to working within 8 weeks. I know this mandate, and you guys have done amazing in Australia. You're about handling some things. There's been some spotty moments. I feel like this is either in some type of education or financial workings with the King of Pentacles and the High Priestess, which is also the teacher card popping up here. So something in finances that would also include teaching or education, some sort of math. It will be a very traditional field for you. And I feel like that you're going to have to balance your own intuition as you take off on this, i.e., your fears, with keeping up with what you enjoy doing. I feel this opportunity will come to you in some sort of email, messaging, electronical.
All righty. So yeah,
All
hopefully
right.
Kimberly, that helps you out. And then we have Ashley, 82696. Are the crazy, crazy dreams I had last night something to be concerned about? And are there more to come?
Let me take a look here, Ashley, because you have been under a amount of stress here lately, and your brain is taking a break to sort shit out, and sometimes it needs a commercial. I feel that this is just a commercial. Will there be more? Yes, until you address your stress level. I've told you before, and I will tell you again, you need to get in a practice of journaling, of emptying out information so that you'll be able to get that information from rambling around in your head. You've had a lot of situations in the past that you are trying to sort out, and I feel those situations are situations that you need to work out by journaling, by emptying out the brain. Recently, we switched over and started using multiple programs to manage not my business, but other things that we are involved in and my business. And the amount of flow and creativity and information that has been able to go on has been immense. If we add in journaling, it'll start pulling in there.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. So then we
Yeah.
do have some hot topic commentary from Mike
Okay. Well,
in.
one moment,
Oh, okay.
because I haven't gotten to use this one for a while. All right, so the commentary, the questions we got asked tonight was on the Johnny Depp case. We
Yes.
covered this case on Mountain Bears, but it's been interesting. So let's take a psychic perspective on it,
Absolutely.
and you can read the commentary, and then I will take the psychic.
All right. So, Mike in Manchester, England, do you think Johnny Depp will win? Here we think Amber is so hot, but do you think she's a Fruit Loop?
Fruit Loop, honey, she is more than a Fruit Loop. She is an abuser. She is a manipulator. Have you seen her in trial? She looks like she belongs in a Nazi movie.
Please, she is 3 Toucan Sams in a Vera Wang.
Exactly. Here's the other thing with it. Do I think that Johnny will win? I feel he's already won in some perspectives. Without the court case, he's won in public opinion. He's winning the public opinion, even to the point that it's affecting the trial. And that was part of Amber Heard's craziness about her damages. But they did not even bring in that Hollywood shut down for almost a year of filming or anything else. I found that interesting. So, looking at the cards and how we see the cards here, of course, we're going to do the ladies' fan. The ladies' fan says, there's a lot of options and opinions going on with the Five of Swords. Of course, we're looking at the jury. There are also emotional things that are not being dealt with. And I feel like those will have to be addressed. We have the Emperor here showing that Johnny will be ruling the situation. And with the Ace of Swords with the Hangman, do I think he wins? Yes. Do I think that she appeals, though? Most definitely. And we have the Death card upside down. So with that, that does boost a change for Johnny's career, which is what this suit is over. Overall, my viewpoint is it'll be a catch-22. He wins in both court, but he also has to deal with her more, which will drag this out. I feel like that he will probably get the deprivation per se. We know that Johnny has been trying to nitpick things, but he will walk away smelling like some roses. All right.
Okay, so follow-on comments. You have a thanks from Kimberly. Ashley says, I need to pay more attention to more of the barista content on journaling.
Yeah.
And then Mike says, thanks, guys. You're amazing.
You're welcome.
Now we do have another hot tea take.
Are we ready for another cup of tea, guys? I think we are. So what do we got?
So from Ashley, would love to a hot tea take on the Travis Barker Kourtney Kardashian marriage.
I've looked at this before. Of course, I love Kourtney Kardashian. Um, the Travis Barker, I wonder. And here's where I wonder. I think that she is used to a different style of relationship than he is. I think there's going to be some very hard negotiations, and I don't feel that this will be occurring um, until we have Kim divorced, because we got to keep the focus on one situation at a time. That's what Chris likes to do. But let's see what the cards say here. All right, very interesting when we're looking at marriage. I don't know about this one. I don't know if the marriage will continue or go forward. First, we have the Queen of Swords here. We know that she's very smart. She's very intelligent. She doesn't play games, and she makes fast decisions. We also have popping up here the Two of Swords. There are things she isn't dealing with. She isn't paying attention to. She isn't seeing problems with. Looking at him, we have him being a very traditional man, trying to be very traditional and playing this. She's going to feel trapped and isolated from this. I don't think she's liking that feeling. He, however, is trying to balance some money because, of course, she has more. There will be some hard negotiations into a prenup. And then the final outcome, the decision maker will be the Queen of Cups. So if they do marry, I do not feel like it will be long term, as she is still handing on to something from a previous relationship.
All right. We do have a question from Shannon.
Okay.
I had to double check. Shannon, you seem down tonight, girl.
Yeah.
Like, everyone okay? Like, I didn't know it was you till I went and looked in the break room to double check, because I was like, I think that's her birthday.
Oh, so they did get married. Again, I don't feel like it lasts. I really feel like this is a Britney Spears situation. Had a long day.
Shannon's had a long day. All right, we understand. I just wanted to check on you. Like, normally you're so like, hi, not like, hey guys, and a rough night. Ooh. We're so sorry.
Okay.
No spoons for my energy. Gotcha, girl.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right. And Ashley asked where Kim is at with her divorce. She forgot she was even caught still in the process. She has been declared by the court to be single, but the battling out over who gets the cookies and who gets the kids and all that is still in the situation. And we should probably be seeing more of that because they have sealed it. I'm going to say around October, because, Kanye is having some issues.
All right.
All right.
So,
All right. And then we have another commentary question. Okay. Yeah, let's take that one and Shannon, and then we're going to move on to our next story.
All right. So let's hit Mike's real quick, because I think that's a good little breakup. Do your powers scare you?
No, they scare my boyfriend.
Not
really, honey. For the first year of our relationship, you thought I could read your mind.
That's not fair. But no, like because you sit here and you throw around words like, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, etc. And I'm going, okay. And then, like, you've talked about, like, things that you've said. It's like, okay, are you just getting a general gist of what I'm thinking? Like, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's what? Or is it, like, no literal thought process with a small, like, delay?
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Mike. But no, they do not scare me. I've only been scared twice, and that really had nothing to do with my abilities. That had more to do with my viewpoint of the situations, and that's both of those was when I walked into working on murder cases. That's why I have very strong set boundaries on murder cases and anything court related.
Yes. Although, I mean, I would think you would have some moments, because I know you've said stuff, like had stuff come out of your mouth in a call that you had to talk about later, because you're like, I cannot believe I just told someone that.
Burn their shit.
Yeah. Like, no, well, and then, yeah, that was one specifically that I just went back and went, did you just say?
I said that on live air.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the t-shirts I want in my merch
Oh,
catalog is burn his shit.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, moving on to Miss Shannon, 8/28/83. I applied for financing for some land and a house to put it on, or to put on it. Even with the interest I would expect from it, it would be cheaper than rent. See that getting approved, if not this time, then down the line in the next 2 years?
Whew. Next 2 years, honey child. That's a long time. I feel like that it does get approved, but I feel like the interest rate will have to be renegotiated within 5 years because it'll be ridiculously laughable at the time. I feel like also with this, you're going to need some documents that you should be rounding up right now, and I feel like that it should do fairly well. Remember to keep balance. Do not buy into that. Oh, well, we can do this and that. It's more so you need to be very focused with it. Also, overall, I think that you need to either have something pointed out to the bank or something about your reputation financially that is not based on your credit report. Whew.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thanks, Mike. Mike has shared us and again says we're great. So awesome.
Yes.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay.
Next up on the agenda.
Next up on the agenda, so we covered good news. And we talked about the flight. What else was on the next one before we take on Texas?
I believe that one was the article about medical assistance in dying.
Yes. There is a lot of news coming out of the fake news of Fox News about Canada's medical assistance in dying. Canada's not the only place that have this, and we even have some states that have this right. It gives you the right to die when you choose to, whether you have a debilitating disease, something like that. One of our baristas brought this story to me, and I'm like, they are so fucking far off. Yeah.
And this is a hard topic for a lot of people.
Right.
Like in the US, it came to the forefront of our attention with Dr. Kevorkian back in the 90s. That we really had to start having this conversation about how much medical intervention to keep someone alive should we force upon someone. Like, you have no other choice, you must live,
right?
Before someone gets the inherent right to decide, no, I'm done. Like, I'm not gonna get better. I have a terminal condition. You know, my quality of life dwindles every minute of every day. I am in pain. I am in some situation that is unrectifiable, that is severe. And when we, you know, ultimately got to the point that we could even have that conversation, we immediately faced backlash, especially here in the US, and Canada has it as well, because we start talking about medical professionals forming a panel to discuss, like, okay, what are the ethics around this? Is this a condition
Mm-hmm.
that qualifies?
Mm-hmm.
And then how do we, as providers, or those that are providers, how do
Mm-hmm.
they
Right.
begin to broach that conversation with patients of, look,
Right.
you've got options.
Right.
You don't have to just take it
Right.
till the, finally,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, you're going to be in the perfect situation to just die.
Right.
You don't have to sit there and keep accepting medical intervention to keep you alive indefinitely until that happens. You can make choices and arrangements
Mm-hmm.
in your healthcare. You do, and you should have that right to be like, look, I know how this turns out, and it doesn't get better.
Right.
All you're doing is prolonging suffering.
Mm-hmm.
There's not going to be a cure in the immediate foreseeable future for what I have.
Right.
There's not another doctor to go to. There's not another drug to try
Mm-hmm.
that's going to fix it.
Right. And there's a lot of conditions like that. Numerous, MS, where the patient's body literally, like their mind could be perfectly fine, but their body begins to stop functioning.
Mm-hmm. You become a
Dementia.
prisoner in a cell of your body.
Right. Dementia
Mm-hmm.
in any form. Certain heart conditions, kidney conditions. And then there is, and in 2023, they will be adding mental health situations or mental health diagnoses that are no longer operable.
Mm-hmm.
And here's one of them is, very, very cold, very scary. One of them being the slowly destruction of a human personality, a human life. Um, I'm trying to think of the word. It's catatonic, where the patient
Mm-hmm.
becomes catatonic, and they know that it's going to become a mental thing to where they are permanently catatonic. That's when the spirit is locked into the brain. The brain doesn't function, but the body continues running. It is actually illegal in many cities, many states, to leave your vehicle running
Mm-hmm.
in your driveway for more than 15 minutes or to leave it running
But it's
unattended.
perfectly acceptable to be lights out of the building of your body
Mm-hmm.
and just continue to leave it,
Mm-hmm.
all the way to the point of artificial respiration
Mm-hmm.
and a defibrillator,
Mm-hmm.
continuously
Mm-hmm.
keeping it powered until it just won't,
Right.
which
Um,
could be decades.
or more.
Mm-hmm.
Quoting from a story from nursing, I had a patient. She was an MS patient. She was diagnosed with MS at 20. And then at 20, by 30, she was totally paralyzed. By 40, she was no longer able to express herself at all. At that time, because of the time period that she was in, they did not have a living will. They did not have a do not resuscitate order. They did not have anything. When I was caring for her, she was in her 60s, had not spoke or had solid food in over 20 years, or eye movement. Her eyes would open naturally, they would close naturally. She had no way to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
During the care of her, she had a stroke. They were forced to revive her. She had developed a lung condition. They were forced to put in a tracheotomy in her because this is what her doctor and sister that had not seen her for more than 30 years decided to do. So she has a pacemaker. She was on a ventilator for a period of time, and then she went onto a and had a trach put in. No control over her body,
Mm-hmm.
none.
And it's this, in the time period you talk about, was
Right.
like pre getting into this discussion of the like mid to late 90s
Mm-hmm.
and beyond. So what has happened in a lot of conservative spheres is calling this death panels and
Right.
making it sound like the government is sentencing you to die.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not.
No.
It's talking about when do we apply
Right.
and how do we discuss with patients? Because
Mm-hmm.
again, it is your choice.
Right.
I mean, the cold hard reality is whether your medical care team
Mm-hmm.
is sitting there going, well, what the hell's the point?
Mm-hmm.
Or they're sitting there going, no, 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 we must save them. As a personal belief,
Mm-hmm.
you still have the choice.
Right.
Decide,
Um,
hey,
right. I just want to touch this, Mike. Yes, dementia is a side effect of this plane. When they transfer over, they regain all cognitive responsibility, but it's until the lifetime during the dementia area um is very jumpy to them. Like they know what went on outside, but they can't process the inside.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so look up the Liverpool Pathway UK. You have no
Mm-hmm.
choice.
Right.
Now, are you, Mike? Just to be clear, are you talking about you have no choice as to making pre-decision about like this is what you want to have happen if the worst is to occur, and or do you mean you have no choice? You have to follow this medical advice that says, "Hey, you're done."
Right.
You get respite care. Go have a nice end of life experience.
Right.
Just to clarify.
Right.
Because a lot of this is being talked about
Mm-hmm.
in a you don't have a choice.
Right.
And it's like, well, but the system that we had before we even started this conversation in the 90s was no, you don't have a choice.
Right.
Like, if you get cancer, you've got to live out. Oh,
Right.
say the end of life care doctor's decision.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now that's a little different. Here in the US, it's very much still choice based.
Right.
Now the assumptive is, much like Aeson was talking about, is if you don't bother with the documents, you don't bother making the choices, then you either have to hope for someone that is your next of kin to make choices for you, which is often a very hard thing for family members
Mm-hmm.
and gets mired in horrible conversations.
Right.
Or you have to have those pre-election documents that
Right.
say, here is what I want to have done. I don't want,
Right.
heroic actions taken to keep me alive
Mm-hmm.
if I've effectively vacated the premises. So
Right.
this is a you have no choice situation.
Right.
There is how the UK is working this.
Right. But with Canada, you currently have choices. You have to meet certain situations within within you have to have the dios, you have to go through this, and in 2023, let's say you get diagnosed with MS, you can determine when it will um, take effect, um, when that will happen. Um, and every country is facing these decisions as we begin moving into a healthcare system that technically can keep the human body living 200 years with enough intervention.
Mm-hmm. Now, I do want to go back to Mike for a second and ask: are we talking about like define you have no choice? Is this the point in which they go, look, we have no other options to give you? Like you're not going to get better? Like when they start to retreat on providing care? Or are
Hmm.
you talking about more of there's a point where you are diagnosed with a condition and before you can even get a second opinion, they're like, you're done. I mean, like there's some nuance there that I
Hmm.
think sometimes gets lost.
Right.
Um, to some degree, I can understand the frustration with this this as it's been termed, we'll go ahead and use it, death panel makes the decision
Right.
that this may not be what you want. It would be the
Right.
opposite version of the US version of it. Is that you could want to have all heroic measures taken for whatever reason you just so decide that.
Right.
And I'm not going to argue about anyone's decision being right or wrong. I just
Right.
understand the frustration from the hi, can you please explain why we're putting, pacemaker into a, end stage dementia patient? Like, explain that to me, because I don't get it.
Right.
Like, I don't get it. Like, this is not a reasonable use of healthcare. This is like, to me, at that situation, like that I've just described, this is like the ultimate in Frankenstein medicine.
Right.
Like, you're just sitting here playing with what is an otherwise deceased person.
Right.
I don't get it. Like, can anyone, like, and it was the sad part of being a hospital volunteer, by the way, is you would occasionally run into these, and I'm not going to throw off on anyone's religious beliefs. I really, it is what it is. But sometimes when you're talking to the families waiting for a patient in surgery, they start to explain, what's going on. And or you get the gist of it, and you just kind of sit there and go, what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you brought in someone at 90 some years old with dementia for a pacemaker, for surgery, to prolong their life.
Right. We're looking at the pathways, and that's one of the examples actually given in the Liverpool example, is that the withdrawal of fluids and food, and that it should be given as often as long as it's tolerated. And that's kind of what we're talking about. But what we're talking about here is Canadians' expansion of it, of allowing people to determine with dignity when they die, with a terminal disease, with a chronic disease that there is no recovery from. I don't know. I really think that this has to be looked in deeper. I think, in my opinion, I think it needs to become more acceptable. I have thoughts and ideas and pathway views of this. In my opinion, on the spiritual side, I get to decide when I'm leaving. On the physical side, just because the body wants to continue on or has kept going on, I think is erroneously destructive.
Well, I can say, as someone who had a mother develop dementia, early onset Alzheimer's, in the early 90s, before, we really talked about, direct, like, advanced medical directives and living wills and all of these things as much. Like, because it was one of those things, yeah, they existed, but typically you only encountered them before surgeries.
Right.
So that if something horrific happened during the surgery,
right,
you could pre-decide, and they wouldn't have to, go to your next of kin and go, look,
right.
What do you want to do? The saddest part of her condition
Mm-hmm.
that my father really wasn't getting that, like, what early onset Alzheimer's was
Mm-hmm.
and what it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that, no, there's no, like, he kind of treated it like mom just, like, had enough one day
Mm-hmm.
and, decided to take a mental vacation,
Mm-hmm.
all the way to the extent of a feeding tube,
Right.
in a nursing home
Right.
in her mid-50s,
Right.
to early 60s, um, in that span, and was just going to one day decide this wasn't really how she wanted to spend her, 60s and 70s.
Right.
And like she was going to magically get better. They were going to give her a pill or something, and she would just, like pop back to herself and
Right.
come home.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that, like, she spent years
Mm-hmm.
hooked to a feeding tube, and we're sitting there with the realization that she's in a 24/7 care, like, at least, I was, with the realization she's in a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week care facility,
Mm-hmm.
hooked to a feeding tube. She has no stress. Sure, her every vital is monitored. So she has phenomenal health care.
Right.
And she's in her, 50s and 60s. She could go on to her 90s or 100 hooked
Mm-hmm.
to a feeding tube. Year after year, decade after decade, forever, conceivably, because what's going to kill her?
Mm-hmm.
Other than to make the decision to, okay, what would she have wanted? And so finally, Dad got it. Like, I don't know who explained it to him. I don't know who helped him clue in that that's not what, like, Alzheimer's was.
Mm-hmm.
And like he started to evaluate that and finally made the decision to remove the feeding tube. Um, I just sit there and go, and I don't want to sound like a greedy bastard child, but like none of this was cheap. All of it was traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
All of it was bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I'm sorry, outside of, like, because we had in-home care, we, before the nursing home, because it was literally the point at which the feeding tube had to go in, that we moved her to a physical to a nursing home. But we had out of home care up until that point. At the point in which she went to the nursing home, she had pain response. That's it. That's it. She responded to pain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at the point in when she went in for the feeding tube, she was, I don't want to say nonverbal because that would make it sound like she never tried. It was just that kind of garbled baby talk utterance. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's nonsensical. It's not real words. It's not even real full, like, consonant vowel sounds.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one letter,
Right.
kind of utterance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then after that, they're really, no, Mike, you're fine.
You're perfectly fine, Mike.
You're fine. Like, I'm so
Yeah.
many years on down the road.
Right.
But it is a passionate topic for me.
It is.
That just, like, you're sitting there and you're going, this is torture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it was torture for us. And again, I'm not trying to sound greedy. It's not even
Mm-hmm.
about the money. Like, anything in the world that would have taken care of my mother, take it. I don't care.
Right.
It's not about that. It's just it's expensive and insane, and the crap that you put up with, and it's painful. Like, I'm not necessarily talking financial cost, I'm talking about emotional cost.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you go year after year, Friday after Friday, to visit your mother in the nursing home,
Mm-hmm.
and she can't speak to you,
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't know who you are. She
Mm-hmm.
doesn't recognize you. She doesn't show any signs of recognition of you. She's out, gone,
Mm-hmm.
left the building. And you just have to watch her body lay there
Mm-hmm.
and try to feel some personal moral peace
Right.
that I visited my mother
Right.
in a nursing home.
Right.
Um, and like I struggled to get through that. Like, I was in middle school and high school through this.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, um, and adults in my life, and I am not judging. Never will I ever judge anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's this thing with nursing home employees
Mm-hmm.
that you guys can sometimes develop this kind of judgment about, like, people just dumped grandma in a storage facility and walked away. And I get that. I get it. I get it. It's what it looks like. It's what it feels like when you're dealing with patient after patient after patient after patient that all their families have done this. And some of those patients are far more alert, cognitive, available, like they're mentally functional, they're just physically declined.
Mm-hmm.
But for those that have mentally declined family,
Mm-hmm.
to the point that there's no recognition, it's just, it often, I have to say, feels like you're going to a interesting form of a cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
You're opening the casket and you're poking the remains with a stick
Right.
and going, is it dead yet? Like,
Yeah.
that's what a visit with my mother felt like, is you're just poking her with a stick to see, are you alive?
Yeah.
Did you finally quit breathing? Do I have to keep doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like I'm, just harming you.
Mm-hmm.
So no, and I appreciate the sorry, Mike, but it not necessary.
Not necessary. But
Um
this is the world we live in today. Here's the hard facts. We will most likely outlive our relatives, if everything goes well. I would like to plan the end of life. I would like to be able to say that if the heart relation does not take me in my body, if they find the DNA connection to cancer that they should, that doesn't take me, then that means the RA will. And when I am no longer able to function, to verbally or physically express anything, I'd like to just go ahead and turn off the car.
yeah. No, I completely understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not trying to judge. I really
Mm-hmm.
don't. Like, I understand there are people out there that's like, nope, the good Lord's going to take me whenever he takes me, and do everything you can to keep me alive till then.
Right. And that's what the law in Canada has done, is given the pathway for both. It is not requiring one or the other.
Oh yeah. So Mike says, thanks very much. I have been tormented with my practice for years as a nurse. I totally get you guys. No, I have so much respect for nurses.
Mm-hmm.
And I do understand it. Like, I will not say that I was the most understanding back in the 90s. Really wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Because even, like, it's just a really traumatizing thing.
Right.
But I understand it more now on the
Mm-hmm.
backside. Like, you have to go through it and then take a breath, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
long breath. To be able to start to process, there's, if your belief is that what we're doing is we're sitting here torturing my mother,
Mm-hmm.
or my father, or whatever relative they are to you, friend even, that you're torturing them. You're forcing them to hang on. And then to have to go pay witness to it,
Mm-hmm.
like it's the longest goddamn funeral in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a certain point you just can't grieve anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that was the point we were at when we actually had the official at the funeral home funeral for my mother.
Mm-hmm.
Is I'm dealing with a bunch of people giving me condolences and sorry for your loss, and I'm sitting here going, where the was that 6 years ago?
Or 11 years ago when
Like
my
I'm
father.
like,
Yeah.
or 4 years ago or 3 years ago, like,
Right.
because it's like I have grieved all I can grieve.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is like, my mother was abducted by aliens, effectively. And they, you just go on
Mm-hmm.
waiting for the inevitable conclusion, you hope.
Mm-hmm.
And when it finally happens, like, I'm not grieving anymore. I'm just tired.
Right.
Like, and I'm relieved, and I'm like, okay, I don't have to torture myself. I don't have to feel bad when I visit. I don't have to feel bad because I don't visit. I
Right.
don't have to feel bad because when I visit, I just can't.
Right.
Because
Right.
who can? You can't do this sustainably as a family member for years and decades
Mm-hmm.
in that particular situation. It just
Right.
eats you. It consumes you.
Right.
Like,
And I want to clarify something you made about nurses getting candid, getting really put off by family. We were more so put off by the family that they came to check their storage unit and were shocked because they were informed of something that occurred with the storage unit. And Mike, I had 19 years on the floor, so I totally get you, except mine specifically, I was in the different field. I was in the long-term geriatrics care field. And the things that I have seen patients go through is ridiculous. And many of them, I'm sure, if they were in Canada and it was this time, not then, they would be using these options. What I'm not liking is the shutdown. The oh my god, Fox News reported that Canada will start killing low income people. No, you are, Mike, you're going to, I promise you, I don't know when you left the floor, but there are things that will never leave you. I will wake up to anything that sounds like a call bell out of a dead sleep. The house that we had in Princeton, 7 to 7:30 every morning. I don't care what time I went to bed. I came out of that bed flying. Because the truck that delivered stuff to the dialysis center that was behind the house sounded like a call bell.
Yeah, every morning it backed up into the building between roughly 7 and 7:10, like they had military precision.
Mm-hmm.
So every morning, like, there's this backup horn of like beep, 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 and yeah, it woke me up every morning. Like, and I stopped registering it at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just became my alarm clock. And like you started talking about it, I was like, what the hell do you mean there's a horn? What? I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah. I will go into cold chill still over certain situations, certain smells I cannot deal with any longer. I still hear patients. I still wake up to hearing patients that will haunt you for the rest of your life, situations that will haunt you for the rest of your life, because it leaves battle scars if you are really a good nurse, not just there for the paycheck. And that's why I think that we are in very dangerous times, because our medical profession, especially our nurses, and you all need to be watching this and getting on the phone and calling your representatives, your congressmen, your lords, whoever controls this governmental system. Because we're going to have a very dangerous time in about 2 years with the percentage of nurses leaving bedside because they have PTSD and they have it so bad from the COVID situation that it ain't funny. And people aren't joining nursing anymore, and they're not joining it because of how they were treated. We literally in the US had a hospital sue 5 nurses, a complete surgical team that quit the hospital
to try to compel them not
tell them to quit.
to disallow them from quitting and compel them to continue working.
Yeah.
Like that's a moment.
Yeah.
That's a moment.
It basically enforced slavery. We have had nurses that have dealt with, and we covered this on this show. We had a nurse in Kentucky that is luckily, and I do mean luckily, on, I believe, 10 years probation because the control of the medicine was out of her hands.
Mhm.
The dispensing of the medicine was out of her hands. The bottle she was giving was mislabeled, and she gave the medicine and done the right thing, and she was looking at life in prison. They asked for life in prison.
Mhm.
For an honest mistake, that as soon as she recognized the mistake, she admitted it. Mike
right,
Odell,
Madison.
yes, throw up a question. I will definitely take your question. We've got
Absolutely.
Madison. Let's take that, and then we're going to take a reading break, and then guys, then we will be going to triggering information. I completely understand if you want to click out after this. Actually, I am going to throw up a commercial break so that if you need to take some time and go out and you can't deal with this, that's totally cool. So let's go ahead and hit Madison.
All right, Madison, 12/15/2001. When is it a good time to reach out to Alex, or will he come to me?
Okay. Well, I feel like he's discombobulated right now, so I don't think it's a good time to reach out. I feel that he reaches out to you within 3 weeks. Right now, I don't feel like it's a good time for you to reach out to him. I feel that he's still working through his emotions and trying to get into his change. All right.
All right, then we have Martha, 3491. Will we find a new home to buy soon?
All right, Martha, let me shuffle these up. You find a home to buy in about, I'm going to say, 8 weeks. When you take this home, however, it's going to look like it's a long shot. It isn't a long shot. I do recommend that you go for it. I think that it'll be very well for you. I also feel with this that it will be a permanent home, so go ahead and unpack and decide what you're going to do with the backyard, because Lord knows it's going to need some help.
Oh, no. Landscaping, though. Woohoo!
Well, landscaping, it's going to have a drainage issue, nothing major.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, good deal.
All right, Mark, we're waiting for your question, bud.
Well, Mike.
Mike, and I just need your birthday. If you just want a general, I'm in the mood to play with my black deck.
Ooh. Oh, Martha, you're very welcome.
So this is my black deck from Debris. You guys will be seeing some tarot reviews on the Aeson Knight YouTube. If you're not subscribed there, please do so. And yes, Shannon, we did get to see the kitty show solo. That was awesome. So I'm warming these up for Mike. Unfortunately, Mike, we do need your birth date because we are the United States. And we have to make. We know that you're over the age of 18, but we got to keep the lawyers happy. You know how that is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Dot your I's, cross your T's, make it all good and legal.
Yep. Okay. So, guys, we will be covering the slaying, and I will call it a slaying in Texas.
Oh, Puritan lawmakers. Yes, that's a boo.
Yep. We're probably going through some delays, looks to be.
Oh, okay.
So, all right. So I'm going to break my own rules. We know that Mike is, if he had 39 years on the floor, there is no way he's not over the age of 18. We know that he was in nursing. I'm going to do general with the black deck. I love this.
You're breaking all your rules.
I am.
I don't do general readings. It's right there in the bottom. I don't. I know.
But there's a commentary here. I like playing with this deck. I'm really liking this deck. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Many so have died again. Many nurses have died. They keep saying, oh, it was this, oh, it was that. No, it's done. It's PTSD. It's not being able to do their care. A lot of things. Okay. Yeah, this is a special incident. Do not ask me normally for general readings. Those are for normally private callers. Okay. So let's see what. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to be using the ladies' fan. This is a 5-card spread. It is going to be general, Mike. With this deck, I find them to be very balancing, but also very connective. And they kind of talk about a little bit of everything. That's why I pulled it out, Mike. All right. So first up, we have strength. In the past, you've had to deal with very much with your strengths. You've had to focus on your inner strength. Right now, you're having to really reconcile with what is your new side. We have the devil here, so you were very much tied into a lot of I have tos, I must tos. You very much overworked yourself. Moving forward, we are looking at where you are now, which is the moon. You're having to face some challenges, go through some changes, and we have the 8 of Wands here. The 8 of Wands also is a lot of sorting yourself out, figuring out what opportunities you have, what you want to do. We have the 9 of Swords here, which speaks of your depression. And yes, he did comment about depression, but the swords also do that. With the balancing card of the 4 of Knight of Wands here, which is a new idea, a new plane, finding a new passion. You've got to allow yourself to take on that new growth, that new period. My advice to you is go get active with the Ace of Swords here. There's an opportunity coming. You should take that and enjoy yourself. All right, guys, that is a general. That is my general. We are going to take a very short sip. If you want to come back and hear our Reddit saga, give us about 5 minutes because we will not be spending much time on this topic because it is so fucking destructive.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not giving his name either. All right, as we were watching the Johnny Depp's trial today, news came out that there was an incident in Texas, United States. Gunman killed 18 children and at least 3 adults at a grade school. We see this repeated from the Sandy Hook. It brought back all the images of Sandy Hook. The 18-year-old gunman opened fire Tuesday at Texas Elementary School, killing at least 18 children as he went from classroom to classroom, officers said, in the latest gruesome moment for the country's scaring string of massacres. The assailant was killed by law enforcement. The death toll also includes 3 adults, according to the state senator Ronald Gazelle, who said he had been briefed by state police, but it is not immensely clear whether the numbers included the attacker. Robb Elementary School in the heavily Latino town of, and you're going to have to take this over.
Udelay.
Udelay was the deadliest shooting at a United States grade school since the gunman killed 20 children and 6 adults in Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut, almost a decade ago. We've seen this, and I'm going to go off for a minute. We didn't report it because I chose not to. We saw this at the grocery store shooting. It is called, apparently there's something called the replacement theory. And now gunmen are attacking on it.
And I'm sorry I mispronounced Uvalde.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know where Udelay came out of my head at.
I don't either.
But yeah. No. Is there anything we can say we haven't said before? That, like, it's a broken record in our world of the U.S., of living here, that we cannot apparently hit enough dead babies.
Mm-hmm. Well, normally we have police officers that deal with this. This was not. A border patrol agent who was working nearby when the shooting began rushed into the school without waiting for backup and shot and killed the gunman, who was behind a barricade, according to law enforcement officers, speaking on the conditions of anonymously because he was not authorized to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have border patrol having to enter a school. When do we stop the war?
And why is there a war on children?
Yeah.
On literal school children. How? Why? Like, and how do you expect these kids to accept and move forward and learn within an environment that war-torn countries are seldom to hit? Like, there are war-torn countries that education is this traumatic.
Right.
Like, usually there's also lots of bombings. There's lots of other things going on.
Right.
We're not at war on U.S. soil. We have children dying in classrooms.
Right. Yeah. And, our Congress has failed to act. Not only is it plainly scary, it's plainly evil. Last year, the House passed 2 bills to expand background checks on firearm purchases. One of the bills would have closed a loophole for private and online sales. The other would have extended the background check review period. Both lavished in a 50-50 Senate where Democrats needed 10 Republicans. 10 freaking Republicans to vote to overcome the objection from a filibuster.
And couldn't get it. Because apparently, again, going back to our earlier discussion, really care about you being born, don't care about you once you're born.
Right.
Like, because otherwise make it make sense to me, because I don't get it. I don't get. I don't get it.
Right.
Like, I think at this point we should all be sitting here in the U.S. going, we have run out of things to say.
Right.
Like, I don't know what someone needed to hear to make this better, but...
Right. I'm trying to find a statement of Governor Abbott, because he said at 14 were confirmed. So this has now gotten bigger. But it was just like, hello, where have you been?
Yeah, Abbott initially told reporters the gunman had shot and killed horrifically, incomprehensibly 14 students and killed a teacher. The Associated Press and Texas Tribune, among other outlets, reported later Tuesday that the death toll had risen to include at least 18 children, citing a state senator in the Texas Department of Public Safety. A spokesman for the agency did not immediately respond to BuzzFeed News' request for comment.
Right. Biden is saying 21, according to the latest release. Like, this is just climbing. I don't think they know how many little bodies they're going to have to go and find.
Okay.
Okay, but this is ridiculous. We have had this topic on the show so often. I got tired of talking about it. I got tired of giving these psychopaths press,
Yeah.
and we will never release or discuss their name on this show. What I find very, very, very upsetting is we have, Governor Abbott down there that is about ready to arrest librarians.
Mm-hmm.
Who is trying to take children away from parents that are trying to keep them alive. And all he says is, oh, this is a tragedy.
Like, we're worried about what kids are learning in school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, you're concerned that someone might learn about, trans identity, homosexuality, sex, but you're not going to confront the fact that they're sitting day in, day out in a classroom learning. You can die at any moment here, right here in this building.
Mm-hmm.
Might be today or tomorrow. You might graduate from high school.
Right.
You might be lucky to get out of kindergarten.
Right.
Why aren't we more concerned with that lesson that we know they're learning and we know is harmful? Because I'm sorry, I think if you graduate high school at this point, you should be traumatized.
Right.
It should form its own PTSD.
Right.
And I'm not saying that flippantly. It really should be its own classification of PTSD for how the fuck did you, do you deal with this? Versus this generally non-harmful, very helpful, actually, unless it doesn't accord with your religious beliefs.
Right.
Knowledge that one might gain from a book in a library.
Mm-hmm.
It just boggles the mind that it's 2022 and we have to keep having these conversations. Like, why?
Right.
What magical words or phrases can someone please find them to get the point across?
Right.
I would rather an entire United States class graduate identifying as bi, trans, whatever, pan, gender, non-binary. I would rather see an entire class of 20 what the F ever year graduate than to know that they're like, and that's it. I mean, every single member across 50 states graduate with an identity that is not heterosis binary gender. I would rather see that.
Right.
And no, the world is not going to be harmed by it at all. Probably made better. Than to have one more parent, one more group of parents, because it's no longer just one parent, or two parents or three parents. I mean, 18 kids, the likelihood that all of them were siblings, very low. So multiple parents are never going to see their children graduate. He was this shooter, this gunman, was taking aim at least at entire classrooms. That's a group of kids that are never going to high school. There's going to be, in about a decade or so, this oddly small graduating class
Mm-hmm.
that has a bunch of people from this elementary school that have had to deal with this
Mm-hmm.
for over a decade,
Right.
or for about a decade.
Right. He's directed he's directed flags at half staff. What's scary is he done this directive 4 hours ago. An hour later, providing updates on state ongoing wildfire response efforts to a press conference in Alabama today. State agency partners and communities are working to collaborate and provide coordinated responses to a slow spreading wildfire across Texas. He did not miss a beat, according to his Twitter.
Yeah.
Not a beat.
And
Not
granted,
pause. We got thoughts in pairs, and we went on.
I'm sorry, this is not a fart in church. This is not bow your head before dinner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, give us this day our daily bread, and then immediately go to pass the peas.
Right.
Get it, work on it. I'm not saying that any of us have the exact right answers to make this completely, totally zero out.
Right.
But Jesus Christ, can you get the plan?
Right.
That this isn't it.
Right.
That loosening gun restrictions, that making it easier for people to walk around with guns, with looking at, not even bothering to look at, do some of these guns not need to be generally available?
Right.
Does it need to maybe be a little harder
to
get some, not all, not all, some of the weapons that are on the market, that are easily available?
Right. And he signed into law a bill opposed by every law enforcement agent, every Texas Ranger, which is their special little force down there, that allowed for anyone open carry for anyone over 18 without a license or training. He was asked if he would be looking at his gun control bill. And he was point blank told, no, we won't be budging on our position on gun control, which is basically to hand an AR-15 to anyone able to stand and shoot.
Yeah. Fundamentally.
Right.
It's just, again, I don't get it. But I think we've hit about our 5 minutes that we told people to take a walk for.
Right.
If you came back in a couple of minutes early, we are sorry. We hope you tuned away for another minute or so. You can always back up later after this post's up and grab the Am I the Asshole segment?
Yes.
Which I just stupidly closed. So I'll be just a second while I click some links that we know you guys do enjoy the relationship advice and
Right.
So, all right. Ready to take away that Am I the Asshole?
Yes, we are.
All right. Am I the asshole for not hiring the kid I bullied in middle school? Okay, so I'll be the first to say I was an awful kid in middle school. I was mean, cruel, and angry at everyone. It resulted in me bullying a kid really, really bad. I'd call him names, pull pranks, and even embarrassed him in front of the girl he likes. His mom was on the school board, so it led to a general assembly in which we had a long talk. I can't say how his mom found out. All I can say is he had written a letter, and I think you guessed what he planned to do to the school and himself. After I felt really sick, I had driven a person to that because of my own stupid problems. I immediately turned myself in, took my suspension, and then laid low for the rest of the year. We ended up going to separate schools and universities, but ended up working in the same industry in the same town. I've done well for myself. I have a really good job, and I've basically been moved up into a managerial position. Recently, we have a new open position. I found out that the kid I bullied applied to the position. I'll admit I was a bit nervous because of our history, but I pushed it aside and knew I needed to make the apology or move to another department if he was qualified, but unwilling to work with me. However, he bombed the interview. He interviewed with a woman on our team I highly respect, and he treated her like garbage. Then, through some digging, yes, this is code for gossip, the whole industry is filled with it, it became clear that he was just like that. He treated his former coworkers very poorly as well, so we couldn't have him here. We denied going forward with his application. However, I guess he knew it was my team because he reached out over LinkedIn. I didn't think it was appropriate, so I ignored his message. This led to him making a tweet on Twitter. We have shared mutuals, so I saw the retweets about how bullies never change. It made me feel really bad because I do want to make things right with him. And I'm sure that him being bullied really bad didn't help with his emotional adjustment. I just don't want to put my team in a hostile work environment. Am I the asshole?
No.
No. No. Like, that is straight up, like, I can understand someone having feelings of guilt.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you did in the past was very, very wrong.
Right.
And I'm sure it didn't help him in his
Mhm.
life any at all.
Right.
However,
Right.
it sounds like it's been a while
Mm-hmm.
because you're talking about finishing high school, going to college, working several years in your field. So I'm assuming you're approaching 30 if you're not well past it.
Right.
Your grapevine is telling you he's just an ass.
Right.
And he had a fair shot at this position.
Mm-hmm.
You were being very accommodating ahead of the you literally had faith that he would get it.
Mm-hmm.
And you were already making plans to try to accommodate as best you could, to ensure that, like, he wasn't going to be made uncomfortable in this position. Like, you apparently have respect for the work he does, or at
Right.
least what you knew of it.
Right.
So to turn around and have him bomb the interview for professional reasons,
Right.
no, you're not the asshole. You may have been the asshole back then.
Right.
But he's the asshole now.
Yes. And this seems to be very common. And I hate to say this. No, you're not the asshole. Yeah, you were a stupid kid. You made some very bad decisions and some bad choices, but you've moved on and grown. He unfortunately has too. And that apple has just rotted a little bit worse. It clearly shows with his employment behavior that he is not a good fit for your team. And he interviewed sucked.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And really quickly, one of the top comments on this is, I'm an HR manager. It's a nice idea, but OP should not respond to him. He could
Yes.
use it against you.
Mhm.
You should notify your HR rep and provide them with the messages he is sending you.
Exactly.
Because
So they can take the proper steps.
yeah, because it sounds like the bully tables have turned.
Mm-hmm.
And this honestly does sound like a bit of, like, trying to manipulate the past
Right.
in the present.
Right.
Not that the past was anything other than what the past was,
Mm-hmm.
but trying to basically use it against someone that
Right.
has improved from who they used to be,
Right.
and try to, like, play that manipulative card to get them
Right.
to say what they shouldn't.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So moving on to our relationship advice. I like to choose interesting ones, and and give Joe a chance to give a relationship advice, but also myself.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go for this one.
All right. Want me to read it?
Yes, please. I've had enough English today.
Oh, okay, you have Englished enough today. A husband shared photos of me without asking. I had a set of boudoir photos done over Christmas and gave a set to my husband as a gift. I did it for me, but with him in mind, obviously. They turned out really nice. The photographer is awesome and so talented. She asked me if she could post a few from my set on her website as part of her gallery portfolio, and I agreed. It was flattering to be asked, I will admit, and they show a lot of skin, but they aren't like bad. Anyway, I found out over the weekend that my husband sent the link to the portfolio photos to a couple of people. His sister, who asked about them and is considering doing her own, and also friends of his. This surprised and annoyed me. He said he didn't think it was an issue since they are on a public website anyway, which is a fair point. But I guess I would have liked to be asked first. Am I being a baby about this?
I don't think you're being a baby. Um, at all. What's your thoughts?
Uh, I I think baby's the wrong word. I think you're having the realization of what you actually agreed to suddenly startlingly dawn on you
Mm-hmm.
that you agreed for these to go up to a public website, and part of that discussion needed to be anyone and everyone from employers and family members and friends of your husband and people you
Mm-hmm.
went to high school with, people you work with, people you go to, church, whatever with, your bowling league, your what the who's a have whatevers
Mm-hmm.
could potentially be looking at these photos.
Right.
Are you comfortable with that? That's the question you needed to be asked by the photographer.
Right.
Um, I don't think you processed that. I don't think you
Mm-hmm.
really. I think maybe you really liked the photos and you felt really confident and you had a nice
Mm-hmm.
upcharge of like a boost to your self esteem and you were feeling a little fearless and you signed that release
Right.
and then kind of forgot about it
Right.
until all of a sudden the things you didn't think about in that moment
Mm-hmm.
suddenly started happening that
Right.
were always possible.
Right.
And to blame your husband for it, no. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
If you were talking about your husband took photos of you or you took photos of yourself
Mm-hmm.
and you personally sent them, and then your husband shared them,
Mm-hmm.
you would have a point.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's an intimacy. You shouldn't be afraid to go to sleep. You shouldn't be afraid to send a spicy text to your spouse and
Right.
where those photos will go. From the title, that's where I thought we were headed.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm sorry, they're publicly posted.
Right. But here's my question and my view. I have a few issues about this.
I'm scary. Joe seems he goes into a trance.
Yeah, Joe goes into a trance once in a while when we start touching on topics that he is like really controlling emotions on. Because he doesn't like to say words that get us taken off Facebook.
I try not to. I really do. But no, I also sometimes have to think it through and go,
Right.
mm,
Here's my problem with the whole situation. Sending it to the sister, I think, is fine. I would have a problem if I done a shoot and they took that shoot that was a boudoir shoot, even an X-rated shoot, and you sent it out to your friends. And here's why. Without asking me, hey, do you mind if I share it with them? It isn't like the sister that is interested to the photographer's services. Like this boy ain't going, oh, you need to go get your girl to do this. This boy's going, look what I got here. I got Mr. Big Dick. Ha ha. Look what I done. That's my problem.
I mean, I kind of get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I kind of get it.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I think it's almost splitting hairs.
Mm-hmm.
To sit there and go,
Right.
What's the, like, they're publicly available. They're probably already posted up on like a Reddit somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I mean,
right.
I think it sucks. I think you made a decision when you were really like super stoked about yourself and you weren't really fully processing consequences.
Right.
Well, now Aeson's the one with the gift, Mike. I'm just over here.
Yeah, Aeson's the one with the gift, and I say I was born with it, but apparently at age 3, I was the human freaking caller ID, filling in conversations that a 3-year-old shouldn't fill in. Joe is my partner. He lives within the psychic world, but I think he has empath abilities, but he's not practicing yet. He does know how to read tarot. I think for April Fools we made him give readings, but it's almost like gunpoint that we have to get him to tap in.
Yeah.
But my viewpoint is the husband at least should have said, "I'm bragging on you."
Yeah.
And
I think that would have been a fair
on that, and made it clear that he's only sharing the publicly available photos.
I don't know. I think it's a forgivable situation. I think you just have to call it a draw.
Right.
Like, I don't think you can long term be angry though.
Right.
Like, I don't think you milk this one to a Mercedes or jewelry.
No.
Like,
But I think you make it clear that his private collection stays his private collection.
Well, see, but that's the whole thing, though. He didn't send the private.
She doesn't say that, nor does she know that.
Okay, fair enough. That would be a concern there.
Right.
Oh, take it away, honey. What's an empath?
An empath is someone that can feel or read someone else's emotions. And I've noticed in Joe's tendencies of being around crowds and stuff that he picks up other people's emotions like a coal miner picks up dirt.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, that would be my problem in general. With that is like we both have private collections, and sharing those private collections that may not been for her meant to be shared with the people that she has to have dinner with every 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I know that's not what she intended. I know that's what she didn't think about.
Right.
And I know there's like a more private collection. And no, definitely husband shouldn't share that. Like that's a line. That's a huge line.
Right.
But to just share the like photos she already agreed to be like those photos could go on a billboard.
Right.
Like that photographer got a release.
Right. But it's kind of like and I see her problem with this. And the problem with this would be the same problem if I went and done a shoot for Falcon, and then you ship the what's called the book over to one of your sisters.
No. Well, I mean, no. Like both of my sisters would just call me and be like, "What the fuck, man?"
Right.
Like, don't. Did you make a mistake? Like, why?
Right. Or ship them off to your friends to brag about your boyfriend being in Falcon.
Yeah, see, no. that's not. I mean,
I
like
mean,
we
it's a
joke
public
about the
available site.
well, like it is, but like no, I don't know. I tend to like not.
Hmm.
Like I don't really like. I tend to refer people to people when they want pictures of someone else.
Hmm.
Like or I'm definitely gonna ask like do you know
Hmm.
like no.
Yeah.
I tend to not do that. I tend to try to let people know, hey, so funny thing,
Hmm.
and I've had to have this conversation with a friend.
Hmm.
Is like it was this awkward moment of I was on a website, happened to see a video, and I'm like, I know that person.
Hmm.
I can like call them on the phone, know them. I can
Hmm.
walk up to where they live. I will run into them. Know this person and be like, "Hi." Um I don't want to be weird,
Hmm.
but I ran across this video. Here's a link. Um doesn't really jive with like something I would think you would be doing.
Hmm.
As in, not something I think you meant. Like I think you meant this to be private, and it is not.
Hmm.
So just wanted to make you aware. And then we're never gonna speak of this again.
Right. All
Like
right, Mike, back to your comment. It's not that we can understand other, so you can understand other emotions. You feel them as if they are your own. Empaths very often feel like depression or anxiety or stress related that isn't their own, but when it's untrained, can very much be the same.
well, and then there's also just the ability to kind of very quickly identify someone else's emotions.
Hmm.
As in, like, you look at someone and, like, everyone else can walk by them, think they're having a great day, whatever, doesn't register. And just, like, you very quickly can pick up. Now, there's some science on this as well, is that, visually, facially, we all have, expression. And there are some people that through having a life in which they've had to very quickly try to mostly abusive situations where they've had to try to quickly read the room,
Hmm.
become very adept at picking
Right.
up on very minor facial expressions.
Right.
um Kind of something else I may have, like I identify with
Right.
is things that happen in life. Um, and I'm sure there's a small amount of it that
Right.
is that like I'm picking up on minor things that I can't sit here and tell you or diagram it or whatever, but it's like I can look at someone sometimes and be like, "Are you okay?"
Hmm.
Like I'm like you look fine on one level, but on the other level, I just like I'm looking at you and it's like you just seem so tired.
Hmm.
Like, did you get enough sleep? Or you, yeah, like a trauma
Yeah.
response. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But no. So my advice to her is have a very clarifying conversation with the husband. Don't get mad at him, but say, look, these are okay, these are not okay.
Actually, psychopaths work the other way. They typically can't read emotion.
Right.
They don't understand it.
Right.
Like you can look at a psychopath, lie through your teeth, tell them exactly what they want to hear, and most psychopaths can't distinguish it as whether it's an authentic expression or if you're lying to them.
Hmm.
It's why psychopaths actually have to learn how to emotionally regulate because they or to emote
Right.
is because psychopaths cannot, like, don't have normal emotions.
Right.
Like, they have to learn them, because otherwise they're mostly neutral,
Hmm.
other than anger. That seems to
Right.
be one of the big ones for them.
Right.
Oh, they're successful. They're hugely successful.
Yeah. Matter of fact, there was a study that showed that most CEOs are technically psychopaths.
Hmm.
Hmm. So that's scary as hell.
Yeah.
But all right, we're going to be wrapping this up. We're going on our
Mm-hmm.
2 hour mark. We're trying to stay in a better schedule, guys, but there is some news. As y'all know, our Friday show, we lost the Facebook stream. We actually got a community violation because of what we were discussing. And we will just point blank say it. We were discussing online dating and alternative lifestyles, and apparently Facebook doesn't like that. So, of course, we took it to our baristas, and we want to thank our baristas because they support us much, but they came back with a decision. And the decision is this. Because they were given 3 options in their poll. Um, and, the poll was, so Facebook took down our stream from mountain bears. So please vote. Don't talk about things that Facebook doesn't like. 0 votes. Stream just on YouTube and tell Facebook to fuck off and stream only on YouTube. 2 votes. Option 3 was fuck them. Keep going everywhere. We will flip to YouTube if you get taken down. Then that was 3 votes. So that will be our policy from now on. We will talk about the things that we want to talk about. If we lose stream, we will be going to YouTube. So please make sure to always look for our socials because we do post a YouTube link there.
Oh, yes. So, yeah. Like, and I understand it. Like, Facebook's just so convenient.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that they supported the keep doing what you're doing. We will back you. All right, so
It's
there was
surprising, though.
another poll up for vote, and that poll from them was, what do you like? Planner videos. Live plan with me's on Mondays. Live plan with me's on Sundays. They like the planner videos, and they would like them on Sundays, so they will be live on Sundays. I'm going to try to go live around 4 or 5 on Sundays and let you guys see what it's like being a social media manager, a psychic, a CEO of 2 other companies, and running everything together. Yes.
I'll take it, Mike. What you got?
So that we'll be doing Sunday. Right now, we're living the bullet journal life. We may be going to a custom planner because the planner that in June will run out.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Mike will wait for your question, but can we talk about some of the things our Patreons get to decide and how they help us with the show
Oh, my
while
God.
we're waiting for Mike's question?
Yeah, so good. Take it away.
Well, we've got some different tiers, so our Patreons get to enjoy different tiers.
Mhm.
Maybe later. Um, View the public page. We have the tall supporters. It's $1 per month. They get the end of VU thank yous. We're getting ready to do that. Access to our magazine, Under the Table and Dreaming. 5% discount on private readings. Access to our private Facebook group, and 50% off all virtual classes. Our Grande users get all that, and they also get the free wallpaper on tablets and computers. They get the 50% off classes. They also, all of our baristas gets voting rights because we take a lot of things to them for them to make the decision on what is best for our audience because they are our audience. Our $10 Vente supporters, they get a free three angel card reading at each month. They also get 50% off on classes, and they get the wallpaper, the Under a Table and Dreaming, exclusive access to the coffee vlogs and chats. They get early access to most of the videos, and they get 15% off. You guys can go. I'm going to post this out, the direct Patreon link out. It is in the description if you would like to join us.
There we go.
All right. So here's Mike's question, and you can give your viewpoint, and then I will come in with another one.
Yeah, this Mike is actually more of an Aeson question.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm just gonna answer. So the direct question is: my friend Joe passed away with multiple organ failure. I still dream about him. Does that mean he's still here? Okay, so one, naturally, so sorry for your loss, and that's a horrible way for anyone to pass. Um, brutally, I'm gonna say I don't know that means they're still here in a sense of existing in a plane that is with you. I will think they're still with you on your mind, which our memory is how people remain long after they have passed. I think you probably have a lot of things unresolved because as a nurse, anyone dying of, anything is going to rack your brain. For what could you have done? How could you have helped? What could you have, what could they have done differently? Was it diet? Was it exercise? Was it this? Was it that? Was it this other thing? I think it's only natural it kind of kicks in for all nurses. Like, you do this with a living. I can't imagine you don't do it for the dead. That like, you have the pain of that loss. Like, had to have been a good friend. So yes, and I also think there's probably some of that is also like the missing them. You're taking it on probably professionally, subconsciously. But the reality is probably more about wanting to still have them in your life and missing them.
Hmm.
That's where I'm at.
Yep, that's where he's at. Now, this is my view from the spiritual view of it. It means that he's visiting you. It doesn't mean that he's stuck on this plane. When you go into the afterlife, you can enter and access people's dreams and still come around them often. When you have dreams of him, it is either one of three things: your brain trying to work out and see if there's information you need to save, if you, or him coming to visit. This is my viewpoint. This is the spiritual viewpoint that the spirit's free. Everything can pop itself together. Okay. So take it away, Vanna.
All right, so we want to thank our lovely baristas. Thank you for your support, Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, Ashley Guest, Shannon C, Shannon D, the ever wonderful Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, and Dottie the Psychic. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become one of our Patreon sponsors and join our baristas in their support, please visit pcspnetwork.com.
Yes, and looking at the rest of the week, baristas, I remind you, your monthly chat will be tomorrow at 8 p.m. Then on Thursday, there's coffee and tea at 8 p.m. These are all Eastern Standards. And then Friday, Mountain Bears, we will be back at 9:30 p.m. with a lot of hot topics. We're getting ready to go into June, guys. Of course, that's Pride season, and boy, do I have some growls about that.
Yes. And since it's coming up tomorrow, I do, before we close out the show, want to wish Aeson a very wonderful World Tarot Day. That is tomorrow.
Yes, it is. And then Psychic Fit Plans will be on Sunday at 4 or 5. We're still trying to work that out as far as my schedule. Tomorrow is World Tarot Day, so that means you need to go get a reading. Come learn the tarot. You can do that by either doing a tarot course with me, or by joining the Inner Circle, where you learn not only tarot, but a lot of psychic skills, Wicca, and right now we're doing a deep dive into manifestation. You can find all that out in the descriptions below. You can also find out where you can get a reading from me, either privately or, and especially if you're international, I highly recommend my on-demand areas, because that way you're able to connect very easily without having to do math on timing. So, guys, we will see you either tomorrow at 8 p.m. Baristas, you will be getting a Zoom link, or I'll see you Thursday night at 8 p.m. as we will be talking. We already have a Reddit story that we didn't dare cover, but we will be covering it with you guys. All right, guys, you have a great evening, and good night, y'all.
Good night.
Stacked. You can whisper behind my back. You can show me how the odds are up against me all day long. But I've been through the fire and come out alive, and there's no more fear in my eyes. Oh, now I'm rising, and you can't bring me down. You can't stop me now.